pig polishing collective. Oh, welcome. Hope you're all doing good. It's Thursday. Can you believe, I feel like such an old fuddy-duddy saying this. Can you believe it's going to be September on Sunday? Shocking. Okay, you missed all the pig banter. You know, Margot, you missed gold, pure gold. We talked about polishing pigs, mainly my drawings. So yes, let's get out the polishing cloths and give it another go. All right, nice model today. Quite classical, I feel. Let's plan on a 15. I need to do some warm up here. I have been completely consumed trying to get these prints done for the artwork. Met with paper, so I went into London yesterday just to meet with a paper supplier because I wasn't happy with the paper I had. Anyway, probably putting far too much thought into it, but yeah, I've been really preoccupied trying to get this all figured out. Really nice sense we get of like the iliac crest coming around here. The tone is really kind of suggesting all of these ideas, but see the way we get this kind of side to the form right in here. It's really lovely. Coming down to the aces, sitting about here. Don't normally see it quite like that. Nice iliac crest. Penny is doing great. I have walked more in the last, how long have we had her now? Probably close to 6 months. Yeah, it must be. Well, 5.5 months. I'm walking so much these days, it's ridiculous. Which is good, but yeah, I ache constantly. She's great. She's a little terror too. Like, she thinks everyone is her friend. And so she's just constantly harassing people on our walks. And so I'm constantly having to put her on her leash, and because, you know, not everyone wants to be harassed. But she doesn't see it that way. But she's awesome. Really like today's model's proportions. I like, you know, something to shape language, something to work with. Just interesting, you know? You can see this point of compression sitting right in here, which is essentially where the rib cage is, right? It's coming down to this point. You can see the tone. The tone kind of, we get this kind of shape with the shadow. But that's essentially the rib cage pushing in there. Yeah, interesting. really want to try and capture some of that shape language where this compression is. You see, to some degree, with a pose like this, at least for me, it's this section right here. That's essentially the story. Right at that point of compression. Everything else is kind of supporting that. My teacup, I love my teacup. Oh, that's actually, now you see, that's actually my coffee cup, or one of my coffee cups. Could never have tea in that cup, unless it was an absolute emergency. I have some very strange rules. You know, there are some cups that are built for tea, and there are some cups that are built for coffee. I didn't make the rules. Okay, we got our navel sitting about there. And once again, you know that this kind of like tonal motif I like to bring in right around here, just to kind of help show that transition from light going down into shadow. Even though on this side you could argue that it's lit the same as this. This really helps us understand form, I think. She reminds me of someone in Andrew Wyeth painting. Wyeth? Yeah, she's got that old school kind of look, doesn't she? Find our manubrium thing about there. The arms are really quiet, aren't they? It's lovely. You know, you get a quiet pose like this, it's so easy to think like, there's not many too good ideas, but honestly, sometimes these are the poses where you can really play. Because, you know, from a technical standpoint, they're not so difficult to draw, right? So you can really kind of play with design language and shape dynamics and that type of thing, because you're not burdened with having to figure out a whole lot of complex foreshortening, you know. Tibia coming down that way. Probably not going to draw the legs below the knee really, just want to suggest the direction. Okay. Today's model has proper OG traditional Greek goddess bod. Yeah, right. I agree. Totally. Okay, navel here. So I need to lower this a little bit, I think. Ever so slightly. That's my not British mistake. Look, you can't know how my demented mind works. Mila, it's not your fault. Yeah, Margot, really? Behave. I don't know. You guys have got a heat wave right now, huh? Gotta say, weather's been rather perfect here. I think it's like 72 today, quite literally. Although it was a balmy 79 yesterday. I got splashed by an epic rain cloud yesterday. I dropped 2 cubic meters of water in my head over the course of 2 minutes. We used to get that in LA, even more so than here. Like when you get like those tropical rains that just like massive raindrops, you know, just ridiculous. I've been in Turkey, Armenia, and Georgia for the last 8 months. It feels like one long summer at this point. I bet. I gotta say, when I did live in the States, living in California, you'd get to like end of August, even into September, and you'd just be longing for it to cool down. And then the weather would say, nah, time for the Santa Ana winds, and it felt like it would almost like heat up even more and just kind of just pummel you one last time, you know, for another couple of weeks before it would start to cool off just a little bit. Honestly, in all seriousness, it was one of the serious deciding factors on us leaving California was the heat. And I tell people out in England that, and they all go, "Oh, what are you talking about?" But unless you experience it, it's hard to understand how exhausting it can be. Oh, that's right. You know, I always forget that winter, like that Australia has their winter while we're having our summer. Yeah, it must be heading into spring there, right? So for them, they're all like, "Oh yeah, this is like the time of year." Till it gets infernally hot there. There's no getting away from it. Furi asks, "Hey guys, can I ask what drawing board Richard is using here?" And in most of the videos, Furi, you can ask me directly. I am just using a piece of basic, what is it? Probably 5mm MDF board that I got from the hardware store. Buy it in like, you know, 8x4 sheets. Ask them to cut it down, and you get, I don't know how many, 6 drawing boards for $20, something like that, or whatever your currency is. It's the way to go. It's so much cheaper than buying art boards from the art store. And why would you? What, so you can buy a built-in clip or a handle? Nah, just go to the hardware store. We don't need to make this any more complicated than it needs to be. Heat index of about 102 or 3 today, humidity up. Ugh. Brutal. Yeah. In Brittany, we have only 2 seasons, autumn for 3/4 of the year and springtime for 1/4. You know, yeah. You see, LA, I felt like it was summer for 3/4 of the year, and you know, it was springy winter for about 2 months. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just reading. I really shouldn't be reading, I should be focusing on my drawing. Okay. I'm half tempted to kind of leave this one here. Kind of happy with it the way it is. Done. They say know when to stop. When is a piece of art finished? Right now is when it's finished, let me tell you. Okay. I wish I'd known that. I could do that before I bought my drawing boards. I'd have to say the handle is quite convenient walking to a live drawing class. Yeah, but if you had know anyone handy, you can cut the handling yourself, Margot. Anyway, look, it's one of those things. But if you ever need more drawing boards, now you know what to do. You're very welcome, Fury. And do you use something to keep it at an angle? Well, yes, I do. And this is a bit of a cheat, but I do this cheat for the stream. So I did this myself. I built a thing on here. Although the angle is wrong, I actually have to keep it on a bit of a weird angle itself. It's not quite on the right angle for the stream. But here's the thing, all you need to do if you're at home and you're drawing on your lap like this, just rest the drawing board on your legs and rest the back of the drawing board on the table in front of you, right? And then adjust how far you sit from the table will determine the difference in angle, right? You find the nice angle for you. In an ideal world, you're basically, the drawing board is going to be kind of straight on, right? So probably like a 45-degree angle, give or take. You're sorted. All right. Yeah, so I built this thing on here to give me a consistent angle each time, but I actually, because I need the camera, I have to adjust it slightly. So it's nice, it's the perfect angle for me to draw. It's just not the perfect angle for the camera. So I have to kind of draw on a slightly weird angle when I do the streams. Otherwise, the back of my head would be in view constantly, more than it already is. Okay, good. That was a, dare I say it, a decent enough warm-up pose. Crikey. All right, now of course I have jinxed it. Time for coffee. Yeah, look, here's the thing. I think there is, and I mean this genuinely, having 4 or 5 drawing boards around is super handy. You might have a small one, you know, a smaller one for like sitting on the couch, maybe watching TV, right? Then you might have 2 or 3 this size, or 4 of these this size. Maybe, you know, a couple, one storing paper, another with work in progress, another blank ready to go. You just don't know, right? Like it's just super handy. I've always got like a couple that aren't being used, and then a couple, like one for landscape, one for portrait, etc. Because they're so cheap, like why wouldn't you, you know? What paper are you using? I am using 48 GSM smooth newsprint. It is the cheapest, thinnest paper, well not the thinnest, but it's the cheapest paper money can buy, essentially. It is non-archival, and it gets the job done. I've yet to find a good paper, an expensive paper, that takes charcoal, in my opinion, in just the same way that this cheap newsprint does. I love it. Okay, time is going. Now, let's see. I am on the right pose. Just make sure. Don't want to be drawing the wrong one. Yeah, okay. Sitting pose. And she's sitting on a box that's going ever very, very subtly away from us. Corner of that box is about here. Kind of handy to draw. Just helps seat everything in space, if you know what I mean. You don't have to go nuts with it. That's probably enough, but it will just help bring clarity. Very foreshortened right leg, even more so than the left leg. And we can see the joint of the knee is essentially kind of sitting halfway across this line of the box, right? The other knee sitting lower, sitting about here. So I'm just going to kind of suggest that tibia coming down this way. It just, as I've said many times with foreshortening, if you find your beginning and your end point, you can then work out the design language in between to make everything kind of work harmoniously. So this volume's about here, and they're coming down like so, right? So if we draw on our topography lines, we've got something like this. That'll get us in the ballpark for right now. We got this high point here, which is the iliac crest, sitting coming down. Asus is coming down to about here. Her tummy, and then we can see the asus coming up to about here, iliac crest. Lulu, you make a wonderful point about the A4 one using Xerox paper, or printer paper. When I started, when I was, how do I put this? When I was kind of like starting on my figure drawing journey, and I was a lot less confident with charcoal. So I kind of, because I spent my career working with graphite, right? So that was kind of like my default, my safe space, my comfort space, so to speak. And during that time, I did a lot of figure drawing in graphite on printer paper. Printer paper is, in my opinion, although arguably even a better quality paper than I'm using here, but it's kind of like the equivalent of newsprint, right? It's cheap, you don't feel attached to it, so you're more willing to kind of experiment and push, and if you do a bad drawing, where you just crumple it up, throw it in the fire, right? This is my big issue, and this is purely me, and it's my own hang-up, and I appreciate that, but it's why I refuse to use things like moleskin sketchbooks and that type of thing. Those things absolutely paralyze me. Because if you screw up the first page of a moleskin sketchbook, it's an awful feeling, and I've done that, like I did that once, and I said never again. And so kudos to those artists that fill their moleskin sketchbook, and every page is beautiful and all of that. I'm not good enough to be able to pull that off. That's why I love newsprint. I do genuinely think I'm freer to express and explore and take chances if I feel my materials are not a deciding factor. In saying all of that, even with all of that said, if I could find a nice quality archival paper that took charcoal the way newsprint does, I'd be using it. But it simply doesn't exist. So here we are. So you've burned some paper on A4 with graphite. Oh yes, yes, the burning never stops, Lulu. Graphite, printer paper, newsprint, it's all good for the fire. The fire does not discriminate. There's actually going to be a burning of biblical proportions in the not too distant future. I've got to go through that 1,000 drawings from last year and do an almighty cull. The fire will be burning bright. Maybe I'll record it. Yeah, it's quite the head of hair, isn't it? Exactly. Sorry, I'm just reading your comment. Lulu, I wonder if that's what people are doing, redrawing stuff they've already practiced for this. Do we have a... Tina's asking a question. Ah, okay, here we go. Ah, give us a question for later. The bonfire stream, yeah. That could be a bit of fun. Drawn something 5 or 6 times. You only use familiar and love shape language. Well, yeah, look, I think that comes back to that whole concept, right, of drawing from memory. And like, you know, like if I was really pushed, yes, I could fill a sketchbook with those types of sketches. I'm not quite that bad. But yeah, that's it. It's kind of like that shape language that you've done 1,000 times. All right, let's see. Let's get this. Let's get this foreshortened leg here on the right. Once again, I'm probably just going to leave some things unsaid. Find some core shadows. Just a little bit of shadow mapping. Excuse me. All right, a couple more minutes. Let's just do some coloring in. Gonna call it. I think that's it. All right, 220s. Funny, interesting. Okay, so it feels like that might be the groove for right now. So, all right, 2 for 2. Let's keep going. Hope everyone's still with me. You're all very quiet today. All right, quick sip of coffee. Okay. Reset the clock. Let's have a look at the next pose. Sorry, just checking something. Back pose. Cool. Change of pace. And I need a change of pencil. Okay, I think we'll just keep going with the times that we're using here. These 20s are good. There we go. Just having a bad drawing day. Mila. Focus. It happens, don't worry about it. Just enjoy it. Lean into it. Say, okay, I'm gonna do some epically, I'm gonna get into pig polishing mode. Pull out your pig polishing blanket and get polishing. Tina asks, any suggestions on how to stop drawing so many small sketch lines? They tend, in my, okay, that's a huge question, Tina, and I want to think about the answer. I have my knee-jerk reaction to the answer, which is, it would suggest indecisiveness or a lack of clarity in your thought process, but I think that that's opening a huge bee's nest, potentially unnecessarily. It's also sometimes stylistic. I would say, if it's bothering you, you know, this is going to be a real asshole thing to say, but it's like, just put the line once in the right place. Told you. If only it was that easy, huh? You know, honestly, I do find even just holding the pencil like this, and I know I keep coming back to this, and you're like, oh, not that old thing again. Holding the pencil like this, I tend to be more direct in my drawing. I do less of that feather technique, we'll call it. And drawing with pencil and having trouble finding shapes, so the line ends up thick and scratchy. This is kind of, then I'm not a million miles off then in what I was saying, even though I was being a little bit tongue-in-cheek with it. I think it's part of the process too, honestly, as you're developing a process, right? That exploratory kind of thing. It's like, look, my drawing is far from perfect by any stretch, but I think maybe one of the difference is I have a very clear idea of my process. Maybe you do too, I'm not sure. As I'm just kind of trying to spitball here. But with that clarity comes decisiveness, right? With that clarity of process, understanding the process, there's at least decisiveness in a decision-making realm, if that makes sense. It's not that it always works, trust me. Well, you've been witness to many a bad drawing done, but hopefully you understand the spirit of what I'm getting at. I think that you're in very good company with that being an issue. As I said, in my experience, the people that draw well tend to draw directly, right? And I think that when you're putting down those lines, it is definitely maybe a symptom of, there not being clarity on what it is that you're trying to do with your process. So maybe it's a case of looking back at, maybe like in a more global way, it's like, how do I approach a drawing? And what could I do to bring clarity to that process? It's the more I think about it, the more I do think there's so much to that, because you watch anyone that's good at anything, there tends to be a directness. Look at Sargent's painting. In the big pantheon of painters, he would get so much mileage out of a single brush stroke, right? If you actually look at his stuff up close, it's just a mosaic of quite large brush strokes, if that makes sense. Same thing, right? He's not sitting there scratching away at the canvas, blending within an inch of his life. In fact, the better from what I gather, the better the oil painter, the less blending that happens on the canvas, to some degree, depending on style. But you look at Sargent as an example. Incredible directness to his painting. So I think that maybe that's it. Hopefully that helps, or at least maybe gives you something to think about. And then if it does, and then the follow-up is, I think that my process is what's at fault here. It's one of the contributing factors. Then I say to you, well, then how about you consider going back a couple of steps and re-examining that process, that's the much harder thing to do, because people hate the idea, generally people hate the idea of either starting over or having to get out of that comfort, that that illusion of comfort. I hope that makes sense, really. I was trained sight size, so I'm relearning how to draw. There's a place for sight size in your process. It's not like, I would say firstly good. You want to get the problem with the sights, as we've discussed many times, my issue with sight size is you're blindly copying or faithfully copying what's in front of you, rather than making an analysis of the mass and the volume that sits in front of you, and the anatomy and all of those other different things. We want to stay away from is just copying a series of shapes. It's just about the most, in my opinion, the most detrimental kind of part of the process, which is absolutely what most people are doing, frankly. It is just copying. Because this kind of drawing, while in my opinion it might initially feel harder because there's more things to consider, it ultimately brings it brings, I think, true, but it has the potential for true mastery of the subject. Right? We're all striving for that, trust me, and I'm not suggesting that we're there, but the ghosting thing. Yeah, look. I get what you're saying, Lulu. I think maybe to some degree, you'll see me move my hand a few times before I actually press it against the paper. But that's potentially the same thing, right? By definition. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of the chicken scratch approach. What is this melody? If you're assuming we're talking about the one that we're listening to right now, Mila, it's something called Circus Leaving Town by Magnus Ludvigsson. Ludvigsson, and it's on Epidemic Sound's website. There you go. There you go, Magnus. A little shout out. You're welcome. And this arm, we mustn't forget, I have a tendency to can forget whole limbs. I know her legs need to go on too, I know. I'm on it. And this hair, this radiant hair of hers. Something like that. You know what it comes back to, just to continue, discussing this concept, if I may, just for one more minute. It really comes back to this concept, in my opinion, of fluency in language. right? I don't speak Spanish very well. If I was forced into a conversation in Spanish, I'd be stumbling and spluttering and creating verbal chicken scratch, right? If you speak a language fluently, or if you speak a language competently, you can create sentences. Now, you may not be able to write poetry in that language, but the theory being, with fluency comes the freedom, the ability to express oneself and to get to the point with clarity and ease directly. Same with drawing. Sight size, you could make an argument, is I'm going to copy a series of sounds without any true understanding of the grammar, or all the things that go into that making that language. I think there's something there. All right. Excellent place for language fluency comparison. Thank you. Yes, Lulu, I think so, right? Mongolian throat singing. Like the Tuvan throat singers. I love that stuff. Like, 2-3 minutes of it, I'm good, but I find those guys fascinating. The ability to sing in multiple octaves at the same time is like, I don't even know what's going on there. Ishan, how you doing? Pull way in here from my initial sketch, which is out here, which is in hindsight kind of absurd. But once again, there's the chicken scratch, right? You could argue the exploratory lines. camera are you using for this stream? The clarity and the performance are very good. I have two different cameras, Jeffrey, but they're both essentially in the same world. One is this, they're both Sonys, and they're, you know, I'd have to, oh yeah, the top one is called the ZV-1. Sony ZV-1, and the other one is the one up from that one. So this one, the front facing, is actually the better camera. Theoretically, I should really switch them. The problem is the front facing camera is a little heavier because it's a little bit bulkier, and I like the lightness of that one above my head. So yeah, no, they're not bad, right? They're not bad. Like, you know, people's like, oh, you know, £1,500 or dollars on a camera. I don't have that kind of money. These were about, I think that one was about 500, and that one in front of me was maybe 600, give or take. Maybe it was a little bit more, a little bit less, but right around that. So they kind of fit in a budget that seemed, wasn't excessive, right? And they've been performing very well. I did have an issue, you know, in the early days of the stream, as you may or may not recall, where they overheated, ironically in the winter, but it was usually because I had the heat on too high, and I didn't have any ventilation. So I do have little fans pointing at both these cameras just to keep them cool. And it seems to work very well. I kind of like this setup. Like, you know, if money was no object, there's certainly better cameras out there. But within the bounds of what I'm able to do, I think they work quite well. All right. Yeah, no jitter on the hands as they move. Very good quality, a very good point, Jeffrey. That, now I'll tell you where the trick is. Not that there's much of a trick to it, but things like I use OBS, the streaming software, for this stream. And I think the trick is not necessarily the quality of the camera, but also buffering rates and optimizing the numbers so that the stream calibrates, so that, you know, the cameras can throw out 4K, but I can't give you guys 4K. If I let these cameras do all that they're capable of doing, we would end up with, you know, my hands doing this and that type of thing. So yeah, that's where I think the balancing act is in the software, getting the, you know, finding that sweet spot. Yeah, like I know that there's some mad stuff out there, price-wise. Of course, there's quality off the charts out there. I appreciate that, Lulu. And look, you know, people, when I started the stream, people were like, oh yeah, get Blackmagic cameras. They're awesome. I have no doubt in my mind that they are absolutely incredible. They're just, I can't afford them, to be honest. You know, you work within the boundaries of what's available to you. In your budget. This is getting quite complex. I'm hoping that when I start filling in with tone, there'll be certain things will start to kind of, you know, come together. Because right now this looks a little mosaic-y. All right, let's do some coloring in. I really love the fact that you always emphasize that there is no need for fancy drawing equipment. Sure, newbies in drawing are overwhelmed by all the different gadgets and drawing videos. Yeah, 100%, Mila. I agree. Look, like any hobby, let's say, for most people, you know, this is a hobby. Of course, there's many art stores and all of that are quite happy to take your money. And look, there's a place, I think, for quality supplies, you know. Like, I do believe, you know, if you're oil painting, yeah, try and pick up some good oil paints, you know. You can notice a difference between really good oil paints and cheap oil paints. At the same time, a set of cheap oil paints in the hands of a master are going to look pretty damn good, you know. I do think that there's a lot to be said for just focus on. There's a lot that we can work with, you know, without spending a fortune or. But you know, then I think that there's a lot of people that want to spend money on their hobby, if that makes sense. You know, like some people want to buy the expensive stuff, whether it's someone who's into photography, they want the expensive camera or whatever. It's like, yeah, would you be better off maybe spending that money on some lessons in composition? Sure, maybe they can do both, but you know, people like buying toys, don't they? If money was no object, I'd be having more money. Pretty much. Blizzard, I have no idea what you're... Well, I know the reference, but I'm not sure the context of the statement in what we're doing here. My monitor is 2K top. The average internet in the US would probably have a seizure if you tried 4K anyway. Yeah, no, 4K is no good to anyone for a stream, really. Woodboard, pencil and paper, here we go. I agree. And frankly, even if money, let's say I had all the sponsorships in the world and money was no object, you know what I'd be drawing on? Newsprint. It works. If something works, it just works. Good man, Lulu. My iPhone is the only camera I have these days, says Margot. Yeah, you know what? I think that the iPhone camera is, for most people and for most situations, it is absolutely enough. I did actually look into maybe using iPhones to record videos, because frankly I love the color balance on the iPhone. That figure drawing fundamentals video I recorded, I recorded that with an iPhone from above and my iPad sitting on the shelf in front of me. And that's how that video got, in fact, that's how a bunch of my videos got recorded. Before I even got this set up, I only got this set up when I started doing the stream regular. And then I took the footage from the iPad and I took the footage from the phone, I put them both in the computer, married them up, and you know, the rest is history, so to say. Guess what? It worked. It wasn't elegant, but I wanted to get them recorded, and I did not have the money to buy even cameras like this at the time. So you know what? You improvise, right? iPhone cameras are amazing. It's really the only camera you probably need, Marco, unless you're, even if you're into serious photography. I would much rather see, I just think that, you know, an iPhone in the hands of a competent photographer is going to do, for 99% of situations and people, it's going to be just fine. All right, I think this drawing is, once again, I think we're done, right? 32 minutes on that one. That was slow. Doesn't help that I'm just got verbal diarrhea. All right, where are we at? 6:22 UK time. Let's look at the next pose. We still have what? We've got 2 poses to do. Okay. To that, once again, to that iPhone point, as Jeffrey so succinctly puts it, the best tool you can have is the one in your hand, and that's the beauty also of the iPhone, is it's most likely the camera you're going to have in your hand in any given moment. I know so many people actually, like good photographers, that end up using their iPhone camera because it's the one that's in their hand, you know? And there's something about carrying a big camera and you know, the DSLRs and the case and all of that. It's like, great if you've got something serious in mind, but you know. Can I study what you teach to get into an art college? Asks Haruto. Can I study what you teach to get into an art college? Look, you can certainly study what I teach, and it may help in the tools that you need to get into art college. I can't say studying my stuff exclusively is going to get you into art college, though. but I think that it couldn't hurt. But you know, you're probably going to need a few things to get into art college. But you know, it's going to be one of the things, potentially. Jay Blizzard, that's fine. The art's not great. The chat's lame. Elevator music. Rock on, guys. All right, Blizzard. Wow. Dude. You need to definitely chill. You made, frankly, a tacky comment. And someone gently and rather kindly just says, hey, be cool. And then you come in with insults. Not the way to get to win friends and influence people. Screw you, man. I don't care what you have to say. Good luck to you, Blizzard. It's a pity. I thought you'd maybe been to a few of these. I didn't realize that was what we were dealing with. I'd love to see your work, Blizzard. Please, post some, tag me. Treating yourself is the main point in those cases, I agree, right? Yeah, exactly. What pencil are you using, Arthuromeo? I'm using General's 6B. All right, let me reset the timer. Okay. Let's do it. I'm trying to catch up. There's so many. I want to get into art university, so I'll practice my drawing skills. Go for it, man. Yeah. Come and draw along with us. It'll help in the long term. Words cannot explain how much I hate iPhones. Ishan, that is strong words. You just don't like them. Well, look, you don't have to like them. And frankly, look, you'll find an Android phone that'll do something similar. But don't let iPhones upset you. I have an Apple Pencil that goes with my iPad Pro. Is there something better that I can use? I can't use an overhand grip with my pencil. No, you can't. And I don't think you can use anything else with an iPad Pro, Marco. You're married to the Apple Pencil. The Apple Pencil's great. You're just gonna have to use a different, just overhand, just handwriting style. Haruto, thank you so much for the kind words. You're very welcome. I'm glad that the videos help. Blizzard would beg to differ with your opinion, but to each their own. That's what I say. Okay. So rib cage is sitting down. We got quite a bit of foreshortening on this upper torso, more than may be evident on first glance. Once again, can't hurt to understand where this box is, just generally sitting here. The angry messages, I have no idea, Lulu, if they were or not. Maybe I see everything because I'm running the stream. Don't worry about it, mate. You're doing just fine. But then if I'm commenting on something that no one else can see, it does feel a bit weird, doesn't it? Anyway. Ishan, I don't even have a phone of my own. You know what, Ishan? You might be better off, my friend. You might be better off. In the big scheme of things, I kind of love the idea of having the freedom of not having a cell phone. I would like to get to a point in my life where I check email and the digital world, maybe once a week. That would be arriving, in my opinion. If I could just, get to a point where I'm like, okay, and there's an understanding, like, okay, I only check my email on every Tuesday. Unfortunately, that's simply not possible in any real practical term, but how nice that would be. Cannabis Saves. Solid name. The newest Apple Pencil works with me with an overhand grip. You can adjust the way the pencils work in Procreate. Good to know. Thanks for the heads up. Alright, you guys are having too much fun without me by the looks of things, but I'm going to move on. Yeah, you know what I would suggest? Work analog. I realize that's probably these days that's a controversial statement, but look, I think there is a place for it. I do get it. I just, I can't imagine drawing this stuff in Procreate. And I know people do, and there's some people that do some lovely drawings, and you can buy the charcoal pencil pack from What's His Face, and it's wonderful, and blah blah blah. Can't beat working with real charcoal though. Not like the tactile response you get from a charcoal pencil. And look, I you know, this is coming from, I literally have to, well, not so much these days, but, you know, working on a Cintiq for a living, like, I'm all too familiar with the digital pipeline and working digitally. I'm not a Luddite. I just think that, you know, at least for me personally, I just think I do better work with analog tools. Now, in saying all of that, you know, not that I am, but if I was more of like a plein air painter, let's say, and I had 15 minutes during lunch to do a quick sketch while sitting in my car having a sandwich, maybe that's where an iPad would be super handy. Then again, you know, you look at someone like Nathan Folks, who works with these, you know, he has this tiny little kit and he does these tiny little, you know, what are they, like 4" by 2" kind of little panels, little color studies. And the guy's one of the best painters in the world, you know, so. Once again, you can get away with some pretty simple stuff. Fair enough, Marco. You're redeemed. Don't worry. Yeah, the blackboard thing that's interesting. Does it take a lot of practice and time to be able to draw beautiful pictures? Asks Tanaka. Yeah, I would have to say, you know, look, it's going to take a minute, right? The analogy I've used probably far too often on this stream is, the comparison I make is either, as we were speaking about earlier, learning a language or learning a musical instrument. Are you going to be playing beautiful violin after 3 months of playing? Probably not. You'll be making a sound. but you need to stick with it. You know, it's interesting. I forget which. It was some famous old animator. Someone was asked him, like, how long does it take to become an animator, a great animator, a good animator? And he came up with the number of 15 years. And I don't think that's necessarily unreasonable, but I don't necessarily think that's an unreasonable number for mastery of anything, especially if you can't devote 8 hours a day to something. But you know, if you could do, like, let's say collectively, even 5 hours a week studying your particular thing, I think that you would obtain mastery over maybe 10 years, right? Potentially. But here's the thing, as you get better at something, I think that the universe gives us a beautiful gift, because I think to some degree, as you get better at something, as the closer you get to mastery, the more you're doing the thing that you're good at. Thus, potentially mastery can come sooner, right? Here's the thing. If you're an autistic savant, it's going to take about a year to be God tier at art. Everyone else, like 10 years or so. Lulu, you're getting into some God tier. That's a strong statement, even for the outliers. Even for the outliers. I think it also, though, it depends what type of art that we're talking about, because I think that generally speaking, you know, what is the measure of what's great art? Is it technical proficiency? Or is it saying something profound with chicken scratch? You know, like, I'll make an argument where you could learn to paint like Jackson Pollock in a weekend. Yeah, technically you could learn to throw paint at a canvas very quickly. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be God tier at it. Like, I know what you're saying, but I think that here's the thing. I think there are certain things that come with time, which no amount of natural ability can compensate for. And I don't think a year's enough time. I really don't. 365 days is not very long at all. It's my feeling. But I get the spirit of what you're saying. I'm not trying to be argumentative, Lulu. Really. But hopefully you understand the spirit of what I'm saying. Because you know what, I've worked with a couple, I won't say, you know, I don't want to use the term autistic, because, you know, let's not get into that. I've worked, though, with some people that you would consider God tier kind of savants. And even there was a journey that happened for them, you know. Jeffrey says, I love just doing gestural exercises with charcoal pencils and newsprint. Proportional exercises Richard showed us. Many streams make a huge difference. Awesome. I don't suffer from autism, I just have it. Ishan, I like that statement. if you can devote 8 hours a day, you can get some sick results in a year or two. Honestly, yeah, no, you can for sure. I'm not doubting that. I would also though challenge the practicality or even the usefulness in an 8 hour a day schedule, but that's a different kind of topic, let's say. I think that there's a burnout rate, and there's something marathon runners called junk miles, which is, you know, because in the marathon running community, I guess there's some kind of, people put a number on, I can run X amount of miles a week, or I do this and that. And the general consensus is that beyond a certain amount, it actually becomes detrimental. Or, you know, like learning anything. Here's the thing, they say that to internalize something, you need to sleep, right? It's sleep that ultimately helps hardwire those ideas into your head. So you could have practiced 4 hours a day at something, or 8. I'm not sure that you're necessarily, those extra 4 hours are beneficial. I do think that there maybe is a sweet spot, but once again, mileage may vary. Like, you know, when I was working in animation, I say was in past tense now, which I'm sure my wife would be delighted at. But, you know, I'd be working 50, 60 hours a week some weeks. But I'm not sure, it didn't mean I was getting better and better and better and better. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's a sweet spot in there. And I don't necessarily think it's as much as, I don't think it's always a case of more is better, if that makes sense. All right, I think we're almost done here with this one. If you ever find the number of that stream or the date, oh my God, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'm sorry, I'm forget now. Sorry, just catching up on chat. Yeah, I hear you. All right. All right, let's leave it there. We've got one more pose to do. It is 10 to 7 in the evening here in London. And I do like to try and wrap by 7, if at all possible. I think we can make this one a 10. It feels kind of appropriate too. It's got a gestural quality to it, this pose. I think it lends itself to that, so we'll do that. Hope you guys are all hanging in there okay. Let's see. No. No. Okay, you'll do. Jeffrey says, I love the thoughtfulness and depth of conversation ideas of this community. I'm proud to be a part of this group. Thank you, Jeffrey. Likewise, I completely agree with you. I'm proud to be a part of the group too. Absolutely. And I agree. I think we have some nice conversations. While we've discussed it before, it would be absolute abject chaos, but it's a shame I'm the only one that can physically talk. As conversation is so much more interesting when it's you know, a little more fluid. That's why I try and read as many of the comments as I can, and I know occasionally I miss them or I don't respond to a comment. You'll have to forgive me for that. It's usually because well, you know, a number of reasons. But I very much, it almost sounds cheesy to say it, but you know, there is no stream without the community. And you guys really, you guys make it. It's why when, you know, we occasionally have streams that are kind of quiet, like either, you know, there's either not too many people around, or you know, people are focusing just on drawing, because I know a lot of you actually come here to draw along. And you know, sometimes the stream can be quite quiet, and which is absolutely fine, but it definitely, I think it definitely elevates to another level when people are either asking questions or there's a conversation to be had. But I appreciate you saying that, because yeah, as I say, I feel the same way, and I'm very proud of that aspect of this. You know, that aspect of this thing that we do. I think it's one of the reasons, at least for me, but maybe I'm also just like emotionally attached on a slightly different level. But when people do come onto the stream and there's a sense of disruption, whether they're making some kind of asinine comment or being immature in some way, you know, like, or just disrupting the flow, it can be quite jarring sometimes. Not because I'm a wallflower and I get, you know, I get upset easily, but just because it's kind of comes out, it's almost unexpected, which it shouldn't be. This is the internet. But you know, sometimes it can be quite jarring when you're reminded that there's a lot of people kind of potentially watching, or you know, have the potential to interact. And it feels it's such a shame, because it feels so unnecessary. It's like that little interaction earlier, like it was so unnecessary. We were all having a grand time. And I'm not sure what motivates people to to go in that direction, and then to double down in that direction too. There was every opportunity for them to just go, yeah, I was being a bit of a dick. Sorry. But no. To then, go on like a little systematic tirade of everything that's wrong with the stream, and to kind of insult all of us, really, to some degree or another, in the process. It's like, no one wins in that situation. It's such a shame. Because I really do want this to feel like an inclusive place, even for those who sometimes might, misstep with what they say. We always try and provide an opportunity for people to redeem themselves. But the funny thing is, it's like, well, people don't like being shamed, do they? That's the reality. I do appreciate that. None of us like to be shamed. But sometimes you need to be called on your nonsense. I'm sorry. You can't, it's not a consequence-free environment. Speaking of conversations and the discussions and the community, as we were just talking about with what Jeffrey was saying, do you know we've got? I guess if I've got one thing that is kind of unfortunate, let's say, and look, it's a byproduct of this, and it's please don't take this in the wrong way, but I think what's kind of a shame is there's several hundred members of this stream, several hundred people that subscribe to this, not just subscribe to the channel, but pay to be a member of this channel. And it's a shame that we only and I'm certainly not, don't take this the wrong way, it's not a criticism, but it's a shame that there's not more vocal people in the community. I know that a lot of people watch after the fact. I appreciate that. I'm sure there are some members that are members purely for the reference. They don't care about the stream, but they like the fact that I curate reference once or twice a week. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But it is a shame that that we've got so many members that I never hear from. And I would actually, if I may, I would make a call out to those people. If you're someone who watches the stream a lot, or you draw along, whether live or after the fact, please, and as cliche as it sounds, or as tacky as it sounds, please leave a comment, ask a question, or just say, yeah, I'd be curious, oh yeah, I watch the stream after the fact. I'd be very curious because, as I said, for there to be so many members, and yet I don't know so many of you. So yeah, anyway, it's more just me thinking out loud than anything else. I certainly don't want to make people uncomfortable, feel like they have to say something. I know people certainly appreciate their anonymity online, but anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, which I am prone to do sometimes. You're very welcome, Margot. I appreciate the comments. It is jarring. It's normal human response if someone wants to ruin your mood. It's the easiest thing to do. It is one of those things, isn't it weird? And look, we're all probably guilty of it to some degree or another, but especially those that either make their work or their world a little bit more public is, and trust me when I say I try not to, but you'll get 1,000 compliments and then you'll get a couple of haters, and you will unfortunately spend a disproportionate amount of time on what the haters said. And I don't know what it is about human nature that makes, or me at least, do that. trust me when I say, oh, I wish I was better than that, but I'm just human. People are miserable, Richard. I've been miserable before. You just kind of want to put others down to make yourself feel better. They can't win. This is what being a loser is. I've been there. Lulu, firstly, let me just say kudos to you for acknowledging that you've sometimes been miserable and you've taken it out on others. It takes a big person to both recognize, acknowledge that, and you know, and then admit to it. People are miserable, but I don't think it's just that people are miserable. There's something about it goes beyond that. I don't think it's just that people are miserable. I think that there is almost this kind of, not for everyone obviously, but for a lot of people there is this kind of default behavioral mode that they go into when they get defensive. And that is something that the internet seems to bring out in people in spades. I'll give you an example, give you a very good example. Road rage. Not everyone that commits road rage is miserable by definition, but there is something which is quite bizarre. There is something about being in that box in your car, separated by 3 mils of glass or whatever it is, where people seem to think it gives them a free pass to change their behavior in a way that they would never behave in any other situation, certainly if they were confronted with that person face to face, which they essentially are. Psychologically they've decided that they're safe in their box, so to speak. And it's just weird that the internet and the car, let's say, can bring out the worst in people, right? Very strange thing. Road rage is a weird one. It's not so different, really. It's not so different than trolling on the internet. This sense of anonymity and this sense of, this is my space. Because, you know, you're watching this from your living room, let's say, and I'm performing this from my home. You're watching from your home, I'm watching from my home. And this is my space. How dare you encroach in my space? I think there's something there. And people get very, very defensive. I've got to say, I think generally speaking, and maybe this is a byproduct of getting older, but I don't remember the last time I got road rage, so to speak. Been a very, very long time. But once I get in my car, ask my wife, I have an opinion about every other driver on the road. And it's not always complimentary. But I don't think I've left the rage element of that behind, which I'm very grateful for. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? That or someone being immature, no need to read too deep into it. So yeah, you could. Yeah, I hear you. Sorry, I'm just catching up on comments. I don't want to offend people, so I put black tape on my camera. People have evolved to be in a tribe of 100 other people. If 150 says something bad, it's to be taken seriously. Yeah, now, is that, what do they call it? Is that Dunbar's number? That we come from in tribes, we would, in our entire lives, we probably wouldn't interact with more than 120 people, I think the number is. Something like that, right? Max says, I'm too busy drawing along to comment. I love the weekly stream. I appreciate this channel. Max, thank you so much for the comment, and nice to see a new name up on the chat. Awesome. No, look, I appreciate there's people that come along and they're just focusing on drawing. I absolutely, that's why we're here, right? But it was, as I said, it was purely an observation. Now I've gone to 14 minutes already. I said 10, didn't I? But when I'm enjoying myself, it's hard to stop. I'm gonna go for just a minute more here. I say a minute, you know what I mean. Just want to get a couple more ideas down. Keyboard warriors. Yeah, I hear you, Lulu. You're right. Sorry, I'm not going to read all the comments, but I absolutely agree with your sentiment. I haven't raged since like 4 months. Good for you, Ishan. Let's all try to not be rageful. What a lovely idea, huh? We'll like, I'll try and stick to my side of that bargain. It's so unnecessary, really. It's like, we won't get into politics. Like, certainly, we try to keep this a politic-free zone, but so much, there's a lot of rage out there, right now. So, if we can have a couple of places on the internet which are rage less, how nice. What a lovely thing that is. we got some more people saying hi. How nice. Make art, not war. Awesome name. I hope you're doing well. Michael Owl. Hi, Mrs. Smytheman. Hi, Michael. You call me Richard. I'm trying to start drawing a figure inspired by your YouTube channel. So I tried to start drawing figures. Is it possible to show my first result of the figure drawing? Here's the thing, Michael. You're more than welcome to tag me on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way. But if you are a member of the channel, i.e. you hit the join button, etc., there is the Discord channel, which I don't talk about very often because I never go on there. Because I really should. There's no because. I need to get back on there. Point being is people post their work on the Discord channel and people share ideas and thoughts and that type of thing. So yeah, that's the path. And thanks for the comment. Humankind be both. Yes, Margot, that's very great. Love that. Yeah. Well, as soon as I start ranting, we'll hear from Tina. She doesn't apparently appreciate a good rant. Guys, I think I'm done here. Will this end up being another 20-minute drawing? And it doesn't look like a 20-minute drawing, which is maybe not a bad thing. But I certainly did not meant to spend that long on it. Anyway, here we are. Well, look, we will continue to hopefully keep this a space that we can all enjoy. Hopefully, certainly rage-free, right? We're all going to make a pledge to that regard. But no, hopefully we can keep a space here that is inclusive for everyone, which is super important to me. Because that's the thing, I want everyone to be able to come to this stream and have a nice time, and for people to never to have to feel like their voice isn't heard or that they're not included. That is priority number one. We are all human beings just trying to get through the day at the end of the day. Guys, it's almost the weekend. How nice is that? So, look, there is a very good chance I won't be around on Monday. If you happen to see there's a stream coming, go, oh, that's a bonus. But most likely not, because I've got to get this printing thing finished and up on the website. I'm creating a store on my actual website. Forget Etsy. Don't get me started on Etsy. You want to hear a rant? I'll tell you about Etsy. Oh, you know, check this out. Okay, now I'm not going to start now. We're at the end of the stream. But no, I had someone order a drawing the other day, one of the original drawings on Etsy. And when I came to post to ship the drawing, I noticed that the drawing was not, in my opinion, something had happened to the paper. It was mottled. And I decided I would not be sending that person the drawing. So I contacted them, or to at least notify them that this had happened, and that I didn't feel comfortable just sending the drawing without at least notifying them, and that I wanted to offer them a refund. Of which they were very grateful, and they said, okay, thank you, appreciate the transparency, blah, blah, blah. I gave them a full refund on the drawing. Nothing else had happened other than an email and this conversation. And then the next thing, Etsy's telling me that they were taking £10, which is what, about $14 from me for transaction fees, for a transaction that never happened. So I am absolutely, now I was raging. It was rageful moment. So I need to get off Etsy, which is absolutely my intention and my focus. I've created a store on my website. It is not live yet. If you go looking for it, you will not find it yet. But I have to get that store up and running. I have to move everything over from Etsy over to my store, and the prints. So this stuff's coming. And with that, I also think, for those of you that might be interested in this, I'm going to be able to offer the YouTube membership on my website. So for those who would like to be a member but don't want to give YouTube their credit card information, you can give it to me instead. Well, not to me, but you know, the transactional company. Anyway, you get my point. So with the store will come potentially a lot of things. I even want to create a t-shirt. Yay, that'd be a bit of fun. And maybe a few bits and pieces as well. So, and then there's the talk about a book. What? Let's see. Guys, it's been fun. It's been a good one, I think. I've enjoyed today's stream. The drawing actually flowed pretty well, I thought. Despite the little hiccups that we had along the way. Lulu, thank you for moderating. You're good sir. I appreciate it very much. And yeah, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button on your way out, or the dislike button. If you genuinely didn't like the stream, you can vote one way or the other. Excuse me. It's a holiday weekend here in the US. Is that right? Well, look, have a marvelous break if you've got a 3-day break. As I said, yeah, I probably won't be around next Monday, so if it's a bank holiday in the US, you're not going to be missing anything. All the better. Pamela Smith, thank you so much for the support. It is much, much appreciated. Really and truly, your memberships, your donations and all of that genuinely help keep the lights on. Yeah, not being facetious. So thank you all for the support, and even for those of you who just like to watch, and that's support in its own way. So anyway, once again, I am rambling. I've done a lot of rambling today. So I will stop rambling. I will let you all guys get on with your evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Most likely see you next Thursday. Once again, if you see a Monday stream, it's a bonus, but probably next Thursday. In the meantime, enjoy your holiday weekend, whatever you may be doing. You know the drill. Most important, look after yourselves, all right? Take care, and I will see you next week. Cheers, guys.